Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are here with the 1A, along with making some modifications and some upgrades that I kind of came across when I was doing the Frozen Empire and the Afterlife version. I've been relaying those to the other two cars. The 1A is a little different. I'm changing quite a bit on it, actually. As you can see, the whole roof is currently off the car, and that is because the roof was kind of built a little different, specifically for doing a certain technique on this car of the that striping that you guys see right there. So I got a way to just get that directly on the doors, as it should be per the movie, and that kind of solved that issue. Well, then this whole roof was kind of built different from the other mock of it, and I kind of wanted all the roofs to match as far as like build lines and build techniques, and so decided to completely rebuild the roof on the 1A. I've already got the front part done, and was able to attach the supports for one of the light bars and the lights, and all that still fits just fine. So no issues there. I'll try to show you guys how different this was and how different this area was. The only thing, well, I guess the only mock specific changes that I've kind of kept to this roof is right here. This is a little path where the hoses can kind of sit into a little bit better, just because the hoses actually do need to sit lower. These boards, these LED boards that sit right about here, you guys can see those hoses kind of go up underneath there, and there's got to be room, and it's still kind of a tight squeeze, and you kind of have to like let things settle over time and adjust, because this does want to kind of torque on this board a little bit. But that is kind of a relief area that we kept. And then of course on the back here, where the big tank assembly right here, that sits down in there, and then this little tiny light bar here sits exactly in the spots where the lights on the other version do. So just a couple changes, but the big thing is this bottom line, kind of regaining this back. This was actually done, kind of built with a lot of these 1x2 tiles, these slope tiles, and with a lot of 1x whatever plates and stuff, and then some more plates underneath that to kind of build that up. And that always kind of bugged me. That was specifically done for getting that checkered pattern on there. And like I said, after I got those attached to the doors themselves, then all that other weird building on the roof wasn't needed anymore. So I've been wanting to take the roof of this car back to exactly how the style is built on the other three cars. So that's been something I've been working on. The rack, of course, is another one. You guys can see the rack is in like a million pieces right now. I've been making quite a few modifications to that. I actually just had it mocked up, all put together, and I was having a little height issue with my my satellite dish here. I reconfigured how the bottom is, and I'm trying to use a rod up in there to help support it, because the way the dish was, it didn't really want to sit in its spot very nicely. And of course, per the other mocks, this was kind of made to spin. I'm making mine adjustable, not really free spinning, and trying to get it more solidly attached, so that way it's not this was kind of the weakest part on here, just kind of wanted to fall off all the time. So we're kind of making some improvements with that, but I noticed that when I had it all together, this was still up just a little too high, so I have to sink it down just a little bit. Another modification that I kind of came across on this rack that we're going to do on the Afterlife version and on the original version is these little coolers right back here, those multi-layer gray things. With this one, I did experiment in making it stud shorter, and I still wasn't too happy with how that looked. It's just not really looking the part, so I ended up using these grate pieces and kind of attaching those back to back. Ideally, I would like to just have this be 1 stud long and not 2 studs long, and 3 studs long, but they do not make these pieces in 3 stud long, and the other side of these pieces are a different pattern. So kind of had to work with what I had there, and came up with putting 2 of them back to back, so that way the grating is the same on each side for the fins. Kind of looks a little bit more like cooling fins now. It's basically what that unit looks like is a heat sink in real life on the actual car. Not sure if that's actually what it is, but that's what it appears to be, as a heat sink for something. And correct me if I'm wrong though. I'm just saying it looks like a heat sink. So that's an update that I will apply to the other cars there. Few other changes on this was not having a flashing warning beacon in the middle here. It's actually supposed to be offset and up a little bit higher on the 1A version. So I kind of came up with using a non-printed black Lego head. This is actually one of the parts that came originally with the set that was used down in the fog lights here, but on the mocks we're using gray parts and not black parts. So I have a bunch of these left over, so I utilized one for that. That kind of fits the MO of the base, and then just had to get it to where it was up high enough and look somewhat correct. Something else with the mock is the screen box here. It's actually built 4 plates high. I took, 4 plates and then the tiles on top. I actually took it down to just 3 plates to build that. So that way I could actually raise up the white box underneath it to get that to the correct height, because that should be the exact same height as this unit right here. It's just that now there's a box on top of that instead of that. So had to bring that up a height, and I didn't want the box sitting up any higher, so I actually shortened it, which makes it look a little bit more prototypical. It was a little beefy, a little too tall, so we made some changes on that. Right now, I have this whole middle section out to kind of go about lowering the dish. I did move the dish over. The dish is actually, per the mock, is kind of mounted more over here, but it's actually supposed to be a little off. It's supposed to sit just slightly off center, more towards the driver's side of the rack. And I think mine, as it sits, it's like basically right in the middle of the rack, which is fine. Not too worried about getting it 100% perfect, just as long as it's a little bit closer per the prototype. That's what I'm after. And something that I've, along with all the pictures that I have of the real car and stuff like that, I also have a special version that Hot Wheels came out with a while back, quite a while ago. It's kind of a bigger version. I think it's 1/18 scale. And detail's pretty decent. It's not exact, but it's pretty close per how the car was on the movie. So I'm kind of taking some cues off of just placement and a few things. Like I said, there's quite a bit that's off on this per the movie, but there are a few things that are actually pretty close to what the car had in the movie. So I've been kind of using this this model as a reference for just a couple things, not everything, but some things. I do have a lot of detailed pictures of the rack, so I can work off of those. But there's just a couple things that I can't see that well, and that Hot Wheels version there kind of helps me out. Along with the box here on the side, we're keeping the claws on this one. because the wires on this are significantly shorter, and that's actually portrayed pretty decent on that right there. You guys can see really short wires. There's more of them on that one, but you know, you can only do so much with Lego. So this fits the bill pretty good. I did add this back onto it to kind of give it that look of the front basically being like a bigger plate, and then the back being kind of the smaller part of the unit, kind of how it is on this. And that is per the prototype, per the real car. So that is something correct, and kind of adjusted my placement of that as well. Kind of figured out where that needs to go. You guys can see on the mock here, a couple things have changed. Specifically, right here, where these brace pieces go, that's where the light was supposed to go. And I actually have that sitting a little bit lower now, so that way I could put a 1x1 circular tile on top of that stud, kind of hide that stud a little bit better. And then that left me literally just enough room to put that head in there and get that all to fit and look good. Also, I changed these bars out. He was using, or Linz was using, a number 4 bar. I went back to number 3 bars, just because that's what the other cars have in the kit. And that gives it a nice steeper angle. The number 4 is kind of bring it out on top of this tile and lay it out a little bit further. Trying to keep the rack as originally, just the footprint of it as original as possible, because that's how it was on the real car. It was mainly just some new gadgets and some new light bars added to the top. So that's what I've been kind of busy with here, is kind of redesigning some things, moving some things around on the rack, getting things up a little bit higher. This tank here used to sit back a stud. I moved that a whole stud forward to get that in a more prototypical place, and that gave me a little bit more room back here. Something that I think I'm going to change on all the cars is these vent pieces, or these grate pieces that I've been using. Kind of right in that area right there, right next to that heatsink piece. I think I'm going to do away with those and just use like a 1x4 tile. The only reason is these aren't really supposed to be this piece, and they're kind of a hassle to keep lined up. They like to get off center with each other when they're on the car. They'll kind of get like that, and I feel like I'm constantly fixing those, trying to straighten those out. So I think I'm just going to do a solid 1x4 tile like this. This is what the dish used to be attached to, and we recolored some of that for white, because that's supposed to be all painted white. And I'm basically just going to sink the plate that it sits on. I'm using one of these modified tiles with the stud in the middle, and my rod that I have up in there sits down in that hole and helps the whole thing stay together. It's really sturdy. I really like my redesign on that. I also have a little bit more of a stand, which kind of looks a little bit more per the prototype. So I just need to, this is what it was sitting on. It was sitting on a 2x6 brick, and I need to do away with this brick, use a 2x4 back for this part, and then just use 4x4 or 2x2 plates, so that way I can sink this down to level. It just needs to go down a little bit more. I might even try to see if I can sink it a little bit lower, but I do have to watch the relationship between the receiver on this dish and the back of this box. So I'm going to experiment with some height. That's why the box stayed on there, so that way I can kind of gauge my heights and everything on there. Something that I had talked about is hard mounting those radar dishes in the back to get them a little bit better. This already had this technique, just because this is basically right up against that tank right here. But it was over a stud, so I moved it over towards the passenger side one stud to get that a little bit more in the right placement. Nothing else has changed with that, other than my redesign little receiver piece for that. I'm trying to get the on these cars, the details that are on most of them, I'm trying to keep those the same build style, the same techniques, so that way nothing looks too separated, too different. And that's been a big challenge with this car because there was a lot of differences. And it's per the car. I mean, the car itself is vastly, I don't know, vastly different. The top is vastly different, and so is the inside. I mean, the overall look of the car is much different from the original Ecto. And so I'm just trying to keep some of the building techniques. This unit is also a different style from those boxes. Those boxes are actually pretty close to the actual prototype, and so I had to build this one kind of different per the prototype. The mock does have you use these claw pieces though, so that is per prototype. Pretty nice on Lynn's part for the change on that. I will try to show you guys. I'll back up a little bit here, or since we're still on the rack. You guys, okay, so right there you can see where the dish, that little radar dish, was originally attached. So I scooched that over a stud. You can see there was a couple other little things that are different. The box there, you guys can see how it was 4 plates, and then the tiles. Well, now I'm just down to 3 plates on that to get that a little bit more, get the height right on that. You guys can kind of see the original base of the dish right there, and that's also on a spindle right there. So it did allow it to spin, but I don't need mine to spin freely like that. So this is this looks a lot closer to the actual car. And then you guys can kind of see the placement of that. It was basically right in the middle of the screen box. So we scooched that over a whole stud. Or actually, it turns out to be like roughly about a stud and a half is what that got shifted over. Here you guys can kind of see where the warning beacon, that flashing beacon, was mounted per the other mock. That was not correct. Just to show you guys again, that's how I did mine. And that is actually kind of the placement of the warning beacon, and that is per the prototype. I've double checked photos. That placement is correct. So that's kind of what we went for. And you guys can kind of see why I used a all black Lego head as the stand for that, because that's pretty close to what that looks like. It's not too bad. This box was originally built pretty tall. It was nice because it did include all this detail, but it was too tall. So you guys can kind of see it sat up little too high. So that had to be changed. It had to be lowered. So I lost some detail on there. Not too bad. Other than that, that's kind of the big changes on the rack itself. Didn't really change anything with how the light bar on the back is mounted. That is a plate shorter. I did not include... Originally, I had included that 2x2 circular plate. I ended up taking that out and switching this yellow stud out for a gray 1x1 circular tile, just to make it look more per prototype. And yeah, not too much has changed with the rest of that. We'll go back to the roof so that way I can show you guys how different the build was on the roof. Try to back up through all this stuff here. Alright, inner frame's not really different. get to where we start seeing some differences. So right here, these plates that were put along here were specifically so we were using, originally it was 1x2 plates to get that pattern, and you guys can see how they were integrated into the roof itself. That was not correct. I wanted those to open with the doors as they should, and then you guys can kind of see the tile work along the bottom, or along the top of that whole area right there to get the angle. And you guys can kind of see how all that looked. The top part was basically still built the same, but this whole lower part was significantly different, just solely so that way you could build that pattern in there. And so we ended up changing that back, and then I'll see if I can get to the front part. So here you guys can really see how the front part was built. A lot of interesting angled pieces to kind of pull these corners off, and I really didn't like that. Even after I redid those parts in white, even after I had attached the pattern to the doors, I still didn't like how choppy it looked in this area, so we went back to how the first mock kind of built the roof. And then I just really had to hope that I could keep these in the correct place and still have enough room to adjust them, get them straight, get these lights pointing straight, and not be running into these slanted pieces here. And it works out pretty good where everything just kind of sits nice and tight. I can adjust those as I need, or as needed, to get them nice and straight. So no concerns there. We get the better roof. We get a cleaner look here. And the roofs themselves will look very similar to each other, just aside from the modifications for the 1A modifications on this one. So that was kind of a big ticket item that I've wanted to take care of since I got the car done, was to kind of fix that up. Something else I went back and kind of fixed was I didn't cut these hoses long enough, these ones, and then the ones that actually attach up to the rack. I am using some Technic spacers to jet those out a little bit more, and that's how I had it originally, but these hoses were still not quite long enough, so I cut some new hoses a little bit longer. This is kind of a hassle to get all that together, because you have to bend them, attach them, and then like try to get the roof on at the same time, and these stiff hoses don't like to do what they're told, so you kind of have to get them bent over time, and they'll relax and kind of get in their cozy spots after a while. But that's another fix that I'm doing on this car. Something else, I am going back and extending the interior door details like we did on the all the other cars. That's really about it. Just another little thing that I ended up doing was I added an instrument panel right next to this jump seat right here, because I finally found some nice photos of the interior of the 1A, and it showed that on this kind of interior panel right here, right at the top, pretty much right just above the window line, there was a little slanted control unit. So I got some printed parts in on that and kind of built that up. So that's a little different from the mock, a little bit more detail on the inside. So that's exciting. Other than that, not really too much on the inside other than the doors. I don't have to change anything else with that. Nothing with the engine. Engines are all built the same with my changes. And so yeah, so we're getting the 1A some love, some stuff that I've been wanting to change for quite a while now. Something else that I will be changing too is these back windows. The mock had it to where we build this pattern on top of a plate, and that changed the height of how everything had to be built with the windows. So you guys can see the windows are actually 9 pieces? Yeah, 9 pieces total. So we have 3 1x2 clear plates, 3 smaller window sections, and then 3 more 1x2 clear plates. I'm going to pull this top plate off. We're going to take these out. I'm going to put the original single piece of glass back there, and then this detail here will be built directly on top of the window, as I did on these. And that's something then that I kind of changed from how I originally had it. I had, when I modified this, I actually took this gray plate out of here and I put the windows directly onto the door detail. And then this gray plate went on top, and then I put the border on top of that. Just for some looks and some flow, I kind of decided to do away with how I had that, so we ended up putting this plate back on directly to the door detail, building the windows on top of that plate, and then just doing the this pattern directly on top of the windows. So that'll look a little bit nicer, a little bit uniform on the car itself. And you guys can also see, just for some proof, on this model, when you guys open the doors, you see that pattern comes with the doors. So that was a big thing that I really wanted to change on that. So between the pictures of the real car, that model, and then adjusting some things with the roof and all that, it's been a lot of work. I've been looking at a lot of photos, doing a lot of kind of going back and restudying it even better than I did the first time, because I want this to be like the final rendition of this car. Of course, I don't have any of the custom printed plates for the Ghostbusters 2 logo, but that's okay with me for now. As long as I can get everything built on the car, then all that stuff can come whenever I find a person that can do that for me. But we're getting there, guys. The 1A is a whole nother beast compared to the other ones, so it's a lot more integration with some of these parts and trying to figure some things out. The roof is vastly different compared to the other cars, so a lot of work and trying to get all that as close to real as possible. I'm doing the best I can. You guys can see I can do pretty decent work, but things can always be refined. And excuse me, over time, after looking at these cars for a bit, I see stuff and I'm like, I can make that better. This shouldn't be like this. This should be a little bit different. So we're finally getting around to that point where I have these newer cars done, they're built, so I can take the time and kind of go back and fix up the stuff on the original version and on the 1A that I've wanted to, and then include the changes that I kind of found out while building these ones. Some things that I did a little bit better on those that I could have done a little bit better on these, so we're going back and doing that a little bit better. So but yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Just kind of wanted to give you an update on what I'm doing with the 1A right now. Once all of this work is done, I am going to go through each car with a fine-tooth comb and make sure every little thing that I want to do is done. And then once I feel like all 4 cars are as good as I can possibly get them right now, then we will do we'll get them all 4 on the table and look at them all at the same time. So it's gonna be cool, guys. A lot of work going into this. I think before we do that video, though, I was asked by a viewer to kind of go more into detail on the packs and the gurney. I did kind of work off of the mock, but I modified the gurney quite a bit to be a lot more realistic, and I also modified the packs, so I'm going to go over some of that stuff. So if you're wanting to build a gurney and build the packs, I will do my best to show you exactly how I did it, show you how the mock did it. so that way you guys can kind of see some stuff there. So that'll be, I don't know if I'll do that video after this one or after we show them all, but I will get to that video, I promise you. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Just a huge mess of parts. Gonna try to put it all back together and make it look pretty. So that's it for this video, guys. Until next time, take care.